Welcome to Keep Hustling, where we are going past the why to get to the how. I'm your host, the always hustling Aaron Gordon, aka NY Risk Advisor, aka Mr. Keep Hustling. In this podcast, we will be diving deep into the professional and personal successes of our guests to find out how they hustled through the most difficult times in their life and their development to achieve the success they've gotten to today. So buckle up for what hopes to be an amazing ride. Let's get to it. Welcome to Keep Hustling with my guest, Chris Harris. Chris, thank you so much for being here today.
I'm excited. Let's do this.
It was, I'm excited that you joined for no other reason than in my entire life. I don't think I've ever spoken to anyone who is in the U.S. Martial Arts Hall of Fame. I guess we'll start with that. This show is about hustle. It's about discipline. It's about defining and redefining what makes people tick, what makes them go, and ultimately what leads to their success. How'd you get into the martial arts thing? And then I want to talk about how tell us a little bit about it. And then I'd love to talk a little bit about how it impacted your life personally and professionally.
Sure. I was 10 years old, living in Dayton, Ohio, in the projects, government housing. My mother was a heroin addict and a heroin dealer. And when I was 10, they arrested her and took her to prison. I had two sisters. One was 11, one was 12. They were taken to the girls' home. I was taken in Child Protective Services, one of their vehicles. I was taken to the boys' home. And the three of us never lived under the same roof again, always in the same city. But anyway, just before all this went down, we had a church that was within walking distance of the government housing that I lived in. And I don't know if it was a senior pastor, associate pastor. I couldn't even tell you the denomination of the church, but there was a pastor who worked at that church who knew that the majority of the kids that lived in the projects that I lived in had no fathers or no father figures. So what he did was he came by on Saturdays and he taught martial arts, and he worked it out with the projects to where he could use the rec center. And so he came by on Saturday mornings and he taught martial arts, and then I fell in love with it immediately and had a real passion for it. And I had a gift. And when you take a kid who's got nothing, I didn't even own a pair of socks, and you take a kid who's got nothing and all of a sudden he realizes he's got a gift. I rode it like Seabiscuit, and I never stopped training, no matter where I lived, no matter who I lived with. I would always find a martial arts school, and I would go play the orphan card and say, "Hey, I'm living with a family up the street. Don't know how long I'm going to be here, but I'm willing to work, scrub your floors, do whatever it takes, clean the mirrors. Just give me an opportunity to work off some training." Never had a school that said no. And so from 10 years old up until the time I was 18 and graduated high school, I had the advantage of training in all of these different martial arts schools and styles. Like literally every time I got taken in by another family, I was training in another school. And so became very good at it, had a gift for it, practiced hard. And then in my early 20s, I started traveling the world and training elite special forces and in close quarters combat. And I did that for 25 years as a private contractor. And that's what kind of led into the Hall of Fame induction.
I'll tell you what I find amazing about that. And then I do want to dig in a little bit into martial arts because I'm fascinated with martial arts. I did do a little bit of karate when I was a kid. But it's amazing to me when I hear people's stories, and you jump to the end about traveling the world 25 years, working with the U.S. military and its allies to train our brave fighting men and women in close quarters combat. And what's interesting to me is when people have that gift, or what some people would call for a hobby, for a passion. I assume, and based on your story, you never really thought that when you started at age 10 or when you were hustling your way into martial arts studios across the country as you were being thrown around in the foster system, that would lead to your career. Very often passion and career don't collide. Yet you were able to put the two together, obviously realizing you had a talent. But what I'm saying is there are so many people that are, this is an example, talented martial artists, but yet they always leave that on the side as the passion project and not the profession. And so I just wonder how you were able to make that happen.
Yeah, it's hard to make money at it. Being a martial artist is like being an artist. You can be very passionate about it, but how you're going to raise a family and drive a decent vehicle and live in a good neighborhood teaching martial arts, that's very challenging. But I hadn't made the decision that I was going to make martial arts my career. I had made the decision that there would never be a season in my life that I wasn't training in martial arts. I was passionate about it. It was going to be part of my life no matter what. I would never walk away from it, and I haven't. But I never thought along the lines of how do I, monetize this? How do I earn a living and raise a family? Like that never crossed my mind.
It's just amazing to me that then you're able to put the two together and make it work. I think that there is something very special about martial arts, and I want to spend a few minutes discussing this. The fact that there is so much mental toughness that's needed in addition to, or potentially even more important than the physical aspect. People see martial arts, they see jujitsu, they see, UFC has taken a lot of this. I hope that wasn't disrespectful to you, but a lot of the jujitsu and martial artists and kind of brought them into the forefront. And it's just interesting to me because I imagine, and you write, that in the military, you trained for close quarters combat and mental toughness. Take us to the balance of the physical and the mental, especially as it relates to martial arts. Because I think that in martial arts specifically, everyone's seen Karate Kid, but there's, a certain level of focus and mental toughness that comes there.
Yeah, I didn't train the military as much as I trained like elite special forces. I mean, I trained Rangers, I trained Green Berets, I trained Delta, I trained SEAL Team Six. So I trained the elite, the best of the best, and everything I taught was very mission specific. So it's not like I was, on a military base with 100 soldiers behind me and we were doing upward blocks. I was training, 6-man teams that were, I was on a forward operating base and we were looking at, images and details regarding a specific operation. And I was training them specifically for that operation. And my specialty, my niche was I would upload new involuntary reflex arcs into their central nervous system. So no muscle memory was required. I would basically brainwash them with creating a new reaction to a known stimulus.
I don't know if anyone's watching, but if you saw my face, you got to take me deeper there. I know what you said. I kind of understood what you said, but take us to how that works because that's just fascinating to me.
Yeah, so if you want to teach someone martial arts, it takes muscle memory. It takes a lot of time. You got to throw a kick 1,000 times, a block 500 times, whatever. That's muscle memory. That's not what I did. I was the guy that you brought in when you needed them trained in either hours or days, not weeks or months. And so regardless of what we see on UFC or what we've read in books or watch on YouTube, there's only about 12 ways somebody can hurt you with their bare hands. Okay. Now there's a combination of those 12 ways, but they can throw straights, uppercuts, hooks, they can choke, they can push, they can grab, they can tackle, but there's about 12 ways. And what I would do is I would come in and create a new involuntary reflex arc, something that would instinctively take over in the subconscious part of your operating system. So if one of those 12 stimuli were thrown at you, then basically I would give you the instinctive automatic reaction to deal with it without you needing to be involved.
Do you think that the people you worked with were elite special forces, that they already had that? Obviously they had the physical and they had the emotional, or I would just say psychological toughness, but there has to be another level that's unlocked when you're trying to, and I'm going to use the word manipulate, but I don't mean manipulate in a bad way.
I brainwashed. I manipulated. I brainwashed.
So how do you? So here's what I would say about your hustle.
That.
How do you brainwash the unbrainwashable? Brainwashing a teenage kid in a reflex, I don't know why I'm moving my hands like this, is one thing. But these people were so highly trained that it's just fascinating to me that was the way that it should happen.
It's not that hard. All you got to do is get past their critical faculty. You got to get past their analytical mind. You got to go straight to the subconscious mind. That's the only place that something like that is ever going to happen. So if you look at somebody who's trying to break an old habit or create a new habit, and they join the gym in January, and by Valentine's Day they're no longer working out, that's because they're not creating these commitments in the subconscious mind. They're not creating new neural pathways. And so what I did was I would come in and create new neural pathways. I would go straight to their subconscious mind. But you can't do that if you don't understand how to get past the gatekeeper. So this critical faculty, just kind of look at it, is this 7 foot tall, 400-pound bodyguard of solid muscle who's standing between you and your subconscious mind. He's the gatekeeper, and he's not going to let anything get into the subconscious mind that looks new, unfamiliar, or unsafe. And if you can't get past him, then forget new habits, forget breaking old habits. It's not happening. You got to get past critical Carl first. And that's what I was a master of, was immediately getting past critical Carl and getting right into your subconscious mind.
Do you think that everyone can gain from that, from getting to that space?
No, most people don't have the discipline to do it. I could walk into a room and say, raise your hand if you would like a six-pack abs in 1 year, and everybody would raise their hand. And then I could give you one piece of paper with about 200 words and say, here's exactly what you need to do. And if you do exactly what's on this paper, in 1 year, you will have six-pack abs. How many people are going to do it?
Right, but that's in the conscious. I'm saying when you were able to tap into or access the subconscious. That's what's fascinating to me, is when you say things, and this is...
Well, yeah, but they didn't have a choice. I mean, they're soldiers. I was being paid to come in and do this, and they were following orders. So whether they liked it or not, here's your instructor today. Suck it up, Buttercup. It wasn't like I was working with, civilians or the general public. I was working with people who, here's your instructor, do what he tells you.
Right. And I'm saying, so now that you're working with the general public, or not, do you believe that every civilian can gain from having that level of understanding, or getting past, what do you call him, conservative Carl?
Critical Carl?
Critical Carl in their lives.
Oh, they could gain from it, but most of them wouldn't do the work to let me get there. It's too damn hard.
So do you think that people are afraid of hard?
I think people love avoidance.
So how do we get past that? How do we keep hustling?
I tell people all the time, a lot of people come to me and ask me for help, and I ask them a couple of questions to determine if I want to take them on as an executive coach, or if I want to come speak to their group. And I ask a couple of questions. And after I ask my questions, I usually just say, I'm sorry, but I don't coach dreamers. That's not my business. And, if you're a dreamer, if you're not willing to bust your ass and do the work, I'm not your guy.
But is it about the actual hours or minutes of work, or is it about the focus and the commitment to the grind, for lack of a better term, or to the moment of realizing that this is all I have and this is my only choice?
It's all the above. Look, as a whole, our society has become pretty lazy. So, I mean, if we're talking about the general public, most people are not going to do the work. They're
it's
just
funny.
not.
I have a friend. I'm in the insurance by profession. This is just the passion, the podcast, but by profession, I'm in the insurance advisory space, and I have a friend who constantly reminds me that we're in an A industry with a bunch of C players. And if you're just willing to strive to be an A player, you might not even get there. You might just be a B or a B plus player. But if you're willing to strive or hustle your way or try, you'll knock out most of the C players anyway, and you'll see success.
Absolutely.
Having nothing to do with any real. What you're talking about at the elite martial arts level is like real effort. Maybe you can speak to this because you have the experience in working with people. What's amazing to me is that so many people won't even put in their little bit of discomfort, right? A soldier, you said, they were given orders. They have to listen to you. Whatever you say goes. And then, by the way, they're going to go sleep in the mud and eat next to nothing for 3 weeks. We're just asking people to actually show up to work and put all their mental and physical effort into that for 8 or 9 hours. So I assume you have what to say about how people can achieve success with consistency.
Well, I don't know how you can achieve success without consistency. And I don't know how you can achieve success without, first and foremost, awareness, like taking awareness of where I'm at, where am I currently at, what is my current position, and two, what is my future trajectory, where do I want to go? And then acceptance of whatever that answer is. So one, awareness of where am I? Two, accepting that's where I am. And then three is ownership. And ownership is, hey, here's how I got here. And so if you don't start with awareness and then go to acceptance and then go to ownership, I don't think there's a coach or a podcast out there that can help you.
I agree. The question is, why do most people hide from it? Or how can we get people there? I want to read. I like to, now I've gotten into this, reading the pitch or the bios that I get. And I just find this line unbelievable. It says, Chris, known by his clients as the Warrior Maker, spent over 30 years guiding leaders, elite military, and sales professionals to perform under intense pressure. Chris believes, and I would love to hear your feedback right when I finish this sentence, and proves through his story that our real fight for success happens internally, facing down those moments of doubt, hesitation, and distraction. how does a person get to a place where they're comfortable facing down the doubt, or they know they can beat it, or they know they have to? Not that they have no choice, but they can make it happen.
Well, I don't know if I could ever make someone comfortable doing it. I'm not in the comfort business. I would say just get used to it being uncomfortable every time you do it. Suck it up, buttercup. If somebody's looking for someone to help them make something feel more comfortable, I'm not your guy. I tell them, look, every time you face down your inner rivals, every time you face your demons, every time you go to war with your ego, it's going to hurt, and it's going to hurt bad. But do you want it bad enough? And the way that we do it is, first of all, let's just start with what is mindset. And this is my definition of mindset. And if you Google what is mindset, you'll come up with about 100 different answers between Chat GPT and Google and Wikipedia, and you'll come up with about 100 different answers. Nobody can really agree on what mindset is. We all kind of have an idea of what we think it is, but very few people could articulate what the difference between mindset, attitude, and beliefs are. But so here's my definition of mindset. From the moment we wake up till the time we go to bed, we are bombarded with stimulus or stimuli, hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of stimuli in the course of the day. So your alarm clock goes off before you're ready to get out of bed. Okay, that's a stimulus. Someone cuts you off in traffic, stimulus. Somebody comes up to you and says something really rude or inappropriate to you or a loved one. That's a stimulus. Well, mindset is mastering the space that lives between the nonstop bombardment of stimuli and how we choose to either react or respond to that stimuli. That space between stimulus and our response to that stimulus is mindset. And that's what I teach people how to master.
Is there a trick or a key or an exercise that everyone should be doing every day or every week or every month to get their mindset in order or appropriate?
Well, yeah, I mean, it starts with, look, neuroscientists have pretty much agreed on, they don't agree on a lot, but they pretty much have agreed that the highest form of intelligence is metacognition. And metacognition is the art or the science or the practice of, whatever you want to call it, thinking about what you're thinking and basically making changes to your operating system real time, right now, constantly throughout the day, because 95% of your life is on automation. 95% of what you think, what you do is all happening in the subconscious mind, and it's an automated program, and it creates who you are, what you believe, what you'll defend, what you'll cower to. And so the only way you're ever going to make any kind of meaningful or lasting change or transformation is you're going to have to get in the habit of consistently disrupting the automated program that has created who you are. Like right now, you're breathing, you're blinking, you're holding your bladder. That's all automated. So metacognition is getting into the habit of thinking about what I'm thinking right now and basically stalling, breaking, disrupting automation until you get in the habit of where you're basically disrupting automation constantly throughout the day. You're never going to make any lasting or meaningful changes. So I teach people how to do that through what I call medicues, Metacues, medicues. Create a medicue. So a medicue is, what do you want that cue to be that forces you to basically stop and think about what you're thinking and disrupt your automation. So a medicue could be every time I look at my phone. All right, well, the average person looks at their phone about 100 times a day. So every time I look at my phone, I'm also going to simultaneously, in the blink of an eye, think about what in the hell I'm thinking and basically disrupt my automation. It could be sit, it could be stand. Every time I sit, I'm going to metacognition. Every time I stand, metacognition. Every time I open something or close something. Every time I take a drink of any kind of beverage. Create as many metacues as you want, but something to where you become so self-aware to where every time I do that, oh, what am I thinking? And you disrupt automation and you start reprogramming your life.
Sounds exhausting, but I agree with you. And I think,
All growth is exhausting.
love that. It's so much plays into the fact that the easy road, especially now in 2026, is to turn the brain off, is to turn off that metacognition. Just yet so many people now are struggling mentally or struggling with relationships or struggling to find that purpose, because if I can get everything instantaneously, If I don't ever have to think whether I need more laundry detergent because the machine knows when I need more detergent, orders it from Amazon, it ends up at my door the next day. By the way, the box with a big smile on it that, some people smile, some people frown when it comes to the door. That is forcing people in the polar opposite direction. And so I think what you're saying is set up those times throughout your day or your week where you zone in on the mindfulness. And then that will force you to evaluate or reevaluate your hustle and kind of where you're going. And I'm assuming what you're saying is, and then once you do that, it's much easier to achieve it because you have that certain definition or goal line.
It has to be intentional and it has to hurt. If it's not intentional, it doesn't hurt. It's probably not going to take you anywhere different than you've been for the last 10 years.
Interesting. Intentional and hurt. Tell us about the books over your head.
I've written 14 books and over the course of 25 years. And my newest book is the Book of Mindset, which is on Amazon, Audible, or Kindle, or paperback. And I basically, in that book, talk a lot about the operating system, what we're talking about right now, the critical faculty, how to get into the subconscious mind, how to make lasting and meaningful change. But, I write books. I don't enjoy writing. And in fact, it's downright exhausting. But I love being an author. I don't like writing, but I love being an author.
If it doesn't hurt, if it's not exhausting, you're not making any progress.
Probably not.
See, I'm learning. So if you take us there, that's actually a perfect way to zone in on what you're saying. Hate the action, are exhausted by the action, but love the outcome and what it gives you. And what you were saying before, the whole mindset is what's in between those two. How does a person slowly creep between the two towards the goal and away from the exhaustion?
Embrace the suck. Just go into it knowing this is going to suck. It's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to hurt. I'm not going to enjoy it. Great. Let's do it.
Do you think there is a place for people to enjoy what they do?
I enjoy the growth. I do not enjoy going into the gym and pushing weight and tearing my muscle. But I do enjoy what I look like as a result of that. So you got to get to the point to where it's all about the journey. Everything we do is all about the journey. That's what matters. Like you and I are doing this interview right now, and we're throwing down the rope. We're hoping that somebody listens to it and it's meaningful and they get a nugget or two from it, and it leads to positive change. That's what we're hoping for. But look, whether you ever air this, whether this ever makes it to any social media, whether anyone ever watches this, whether it gets 1,000 downloads or 0 downloads, it doesn't matter. What matters is the conversation you and I, Aaron, are having right now. This is the stuff that matters. All the other stuff that happens after this, that's icing on the cake. You got to get to the place to where you love and embrace and enjoy the grind.
The journey is almost more important than the destination, as they say.
It's not almost more important. It is what's important.
And then at a certain point, the destination becomes basically irrelevant because the journey has taken on a meaning of its own.
Let the destination become automated. If you get to where you love the grind, the destination takes care of itself.
It's so interesting you say that. I once had the opportunity to be in a car with someone who is now worth north of $20 billion. And I asked him about what I should do with my life. And we were talking about, something having to do with business. And he said to me, Aaron, do you think I enjoy what I do every day? You think at this stage of my life, and yes, everyone says I don't have to work, I can retire, I can live off my money. Do you think at this stage of my life, I enjoy getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning, doing my exercise, doing what I need to do, getting to my office, the first person there, 7 o'clock in the morning? I think I enjoy that. I didn't respond. And he said, you know what I enjoy? When I open up my portfolio every day and I see the success that I was able to achieve by doing that, by going on the journey. And it's rare to enjoy what you do and enjoy a level of success. But if you could get through what you have to do and focus on that and be mindful of it and see the success, to me, that seems like a life worth living.
It is a life worth living.
I love that. Everyone should check out Chris's books. We're going to link them in the description below. Chris, I can tell you this. You've given me more to think about than most people that have ever come on this podcast, so I greatly appreciate it. As you know, we have a closing tradition on this podcast where we ask our guests to leave us with their favorite motivational or inspirational quote and what it means to them. We've heard so many of them from you, but I'm sure there's a good one coming. And with that, I'm going to once again say thank you, Chris Harris, for being here and for being my guest today.
My pleasure.
What's the quote?
Alan Watts, British philosopher, 1970s. He says this: "You are under no obligation whatsoever to to remain the same version of yourself you were 5 minutes ago.
That is Keep Hustling. I absolutely love that. This has been another episode of Keep Hustling. Remember, do well by doing good. And of course, and always, keep hustling. All right, hustlers, that brings us to the end of another fantastic episode. Thank you for listening. The listeners are the most important part of this show. If you like what you heard, please leave us a review wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. Your feedback means the world to us and helps us reach more listeners. Plus, be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you never miss an episode. We have some amazing guests and topics lined up for you, and we don't want you to miss out. And finally, if you have any suggestions, comments, or even just want to say hello, please feel free to reach out to us on all social media platforms. We are Keep Hustling Pod on Instagram, X, Facebook, and LinkedIn. We would love to hear from you to continue the conversation. Thanks again for tuning in and supporting our podcast. We truly appreciate each and every one of you. Until next time, stay curious, stay hungry, and keep hustling.